Brother Duan, what do you mean by that? Yi Xian looked puzzled. You'll know in a few more days. Duan Ling Tian smiled mysteriously. Although it was his first time using that method to help someone undergo marrow cleansing and muscle tempering, he was certain it would be effective. This was because it was a unique method that the reincarnated Martial Emperor had obtained by chance during his second life. It was only effective for people under 18 whose meridians had not yet fully matured. Furthermore, it required the cooperation of vital energy and spiritual energy above the void-prying stage to be successfully performed. If he hadn't met Yi Xian, Duan Ling Tian wouldn't have known that this method existed in the reincarnated Martial Emperor's memories. Now, it had come in handy for Yi Xian. Of course, Yi Xian would only begin to feel the specific effects of the marrow cleansing and muscle tempering in a few days. Brother Duan, stop being so secretive and tell me quickly. Yi Xian shook Duan Ling Tian's arm, pouting playfully. Nowadays, not only did Duan Ling Tian treat her like his own sister, but she also regarded Duan Ling Tian as her brother, a brother she could completely trust. You little girl, even if I told you now, you might not believe it. You'll naturally find out in a few days. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and chuckled. All right, then I'll wait a few more days. Yi Xian released Duan Ling Tian's arm and nodded obediently. Then she added, Brother Duan, it's fine if you don't hide in a few days. But if that Shun Wei brings his 5 elements sect elders to our door, you absolutely must hide and not come out. You little girl, you don't need to worry so much about my affairs. Go cultivate. In a few days, I'll be checking your progress. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. And towards the end, he urged Yi Xian to go into her room to cultivate. Okay. Yi Xian playfully stuck out her tongue, then ran back to her room to cultivate. But she forgot to close the door. This girl, Duan Ling Tian, with a loving expression, helped Yi Xian close her door. Then he murmured to himself, perhaps I can consider taking Xiao Xian to the 5 Elements sect as well. From Duan Ling Tian's tone, it sounded as if taking Yi Xian to the 5 Elements sect was a very simple matter. Anyone who didn't know might even think that the 5 Elements sect was his family's business. I should also cultivate. I feel like I'm just a little bit away from breaking through to the void prying stage 5th level. Once I break through, my strength will increase again. With a thought, Duan Ling Tian returned to his room, took out the fragment of wind profundity, and held it in his hand. Comprehending the wind profundity while cultivating 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Sword Dragon Transformation. Time passed quietly, and 3 days flew by in an instant. Shun Family Mansion. Today, the Shun family was exceptionally lively, adorned with lanterns and colorful decorations, as if preparing for a joyous occasion. Early in the morning, a long red carpet was laid out at the entrance of the Shun family mansion, extending all the way to the entrance of the Shun family hall. On both sides of the red carpet, a maid stood at regular intervals. Not long after, Shindong, the head of the Shun family, led his youngest son, Shunin, and a group of Shun family elders, grandly walking out of the mansion's main gate, standing there as if awaiting something. Father, it's Elder Ku and Big Brother. Suddenly, the sharp-eyed Shun's gaze lit up, and he exclaimed in surprise, looking at the 2 figures approaching in the distance. With that, Shunin walked towards the 2 people approaching, a robust old man with kind eyes and a benevolent face, and a young man around 35 years old, Elder Ku. Shunin took a few steps forward, respectfully standing on the other side of the old man, walking side by side with him, his words full of humility, completely devoid of his usual sharp demeanor. You are Shun Wei's younger brother, Shunin? The old man's cloudy eyes lit up with a glimmer, and he asked kindly, Elder Ku, it is I. Shunin was clearly very happy that the old man remembered him. I remember when I came to your Shun family back then. You were only 7 or 8 years old, weren't you? In the blink of an eye, that little child has already grown into an adult. The old man said with a chuckle, Shin Wei, I remember the first time I came to your Shin family was when you became my disciple. It seems like 18 years ago, right? The old man looked at the young man beside him, who was Shun's elder brother, Shin Wei, and asked. Shin Wei was tall and had bright, piercing eyes. Hearing the old man's words, he smiled and nodded. Yes, master, 18 years. At that time, I was 17, and Shaoan was 7. Time makes one old. In the blink of an eye, 18 years have passed. It's a pity that for these 18 years, our wood peak has remained as it was, constantly suppressed by the other three peaks. Unable to breathe, the old man sighed now. I only hope to see wood peak rise again in my lifetime. If that happens, I will have no regrets. It is this disciple's inadequacy, Shinwei said in a hurry. You can't be blamed for this. As early as 20 years ago, when the peak master was seriously injured and went into seclusion, our wood peak already began to decline. It's just that the other three peaks were too ruthless. Taking advantage of the peak master's seclusion, they coerced and enticed all our outstanding disciples from Wood Peak, leaving us with no capable young generation. At this point, the old man's face flushed red, seemingly a little agitated. Master, please calm down. I believe our Wood Peak will definitely rise again. Master, from now on, I will definitely cultivate even harder and not bring shame to Wood Peak. Shinwei said earnestly. All right, you rarely come home, so let's not talk about these unhappy things. The old man looked at the group of people waiting ahead, and the red carpet on the ground, and couldn't help but sigh. Didn't I tell you to tell your father not to be so extravagant? You should know that Master doesn't care about this. As long as your family is well and you can cultivate in peace in the sect, Master will be satisfied. Master, you rarely visit, so please don't mind these details, Shinwei said with a smile. Besides, my father does this out of respect for you. Yes, Elder Ku, you nurtured my elder brother to become successful, so it is right for our Shun family to welcome you with the highest etiquette. Shinan also said, Good, good. The old man's face was full of smiles, and surrounded by the Shun Wei and Shinan brothers, he arrived at the main entrance of the Shun family mansion. Elder Ku. Elder Ku. Immediately, led by Shun Dong, the head of the Shun family. All the high-ranking members of the Shun family bowed to the old man. Their expressions humble. We are all family. No need to be polite. The old man squinted his eyes and grinned. Family. All the high-ranking members of the Shun family immediately beamed with joy. Being regarded as family by an elder of the Five Elements sect was not an honor just anyone could receive. Elder Ku, please come in. We have already prepared a welcoming banquet for you. Shindong personally and respectfully ushered the old man into the Shun family mansion. Young master. Young master, it's been years. Your cultivation must have improved again, right? A group of Shin family elders greeted Shinwei warmly. They genuinely respected this young master, who was the foremost among the current younger generation of the Shin family and also a disciple of the Five Elements sect. Greetings, elders. Shinwei responded with a smile, not neglecting these elders who had toiled for the family for most of their lives. Despite being a disciple of the Five Elements sect, young master, please come in. The Shun family elders stood at the entrance of the Shun family mansion, opening a path for Shinwei to enter first. Elders, you are all my seniors, please go in first. If you don't go in, I won't enter this house today. Shinwei seemed accustomed to such situations and directly used his trump card. Immediately, a group of Shun family elders walked into the Shun family mansion with wry smiles, but their brows were filled with satisfaction. Satisfaction with their young master of the Shin family. Shinwei and Shunan walked side by side behind the group of Shun family elders, entering the Shun family mansion. Brother. Suddenly, Shunan looked at Shinwei, his expression abruptly changing, a fierce glint flashing in his eyes. You must avenge me. If you don't avenge me, I won't live. Shinwei frowned, his expression also darkening. What exactly happened? Speak clearly. Brother, a few days ago, I saw an outsider, a young man, openly abducting a civilian girl in the street. I couldn't stand by and wanted to save her, but who knew he was strong? He blasted me away with a single palm, causing me to fall unconscious. Shunan said with a mournful face. In Flowing Cloud Town, is there anyone our Shun family can't handle? Shinwei asked, his expression slightly grim. Brother, that person said he was a disciple of the Five Elements sect's Wood Peak, so father and the elders didn't dare to touch him. After all, you are also in the Five Elements sect's Wood Peak, and father and the elders were afraid of making things difficult for you, so they didn't do anything to him. At this point, Shunan said with hatred, That's not all. But I never expected that he would even forcefully occupy my fiancée, to whom I was engaged. Brother, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. By the end, Shunan's eyes were filled with chilling light, as if he wanted to devour someone. He said he was a disciple of our five elements sex would peak. He said it himself. Shinwei stopped in his tracks and asked in a deep voice, "Yes." Shunan nodded, then said with a trembling voice, "He said he was a high and mighty five elements sect disciple, and taking my fiancée was him showing me favor, that it was my good fortune." Brother, he's too insulting. Did he say what his name was? Shinwei asked coldly, his eyes filled with extreme chill. He said his name was Duan Ling Tian. Shunan said with hatred, "Duan Ling Tian? Are you sure that's his name?" Shinwei frowned and asked, "Yes." Shunan nodded. Every word he said, every insult he hurled at me, I remember clearly. There's absolutely no mistake. Shaoan, you and father might both have been deceived by him. Our Wood Peak does not have a disciple named Duan Ling Tian. Shinwei's voice grew even colder. What? Shunen's face changed drastically. Then isn't he just someone impersonating a five elements sect disciple? Brother, you must avenge me, avenge me. Do you know where he is now? Shinwei asked, a cold glint flashing in his eyes that he would not easily let go of anyone who dared to impersonate a five elements sect disciple, especially a Wood Peak disciple, and go around swindling people. I know. Shunan nodded resentfully and said in a harsh voice, "He forcibly took my fiancée, with whom I had an engagement. After he forced my fiancée's family to our Shun family to break off the engagement, he has been living in my fiancée's house ever since." In the depths of Shunan's eyes, a hint of cold light flickered. Unfortunately, Shunwei did not notice this. What? Hearing Shunan's words, Shinwei's face became even gloomier, in his opinion. If it weren't for that guy who impersonated a disciple of their five elements sects would peak and bullied men and women, he might have been able to attend his brother's wedding when he returned this time. But now, not only did he not attend the wedding, his brother's fiancée was also taken away. From childhood to adulthood, the person he doted on the most was his younger brother. Whatever good food or fun things he had, he would always give them to his younger brother first. Now, hearing that his brother suffered such humiliation, how could he tolerate it? Brother, my fiancée is Yi Xian, the eldest daughter of the Yi family. That guy is currently at the Yi family. You must avenge me. Shunan added fuel to the fire with a sorrowful expression, then reached out and grabbed Shinwei's arm, pulling him out, rushing in a hurry. Shaoan, I know you're very angry, and I'm very angry too. How about this? I'll go say hello to my master and father, and then I'll go to the Yi family with you. After all, it's not easy for my master to come to our Shin family. I can't just leave him aside as soon as I return. Shinwei stopped and said to Shunan, however, how could Shunan let him go see his father? Once he saw his father, wouldn't all the lies he had just told be exposed? Brother, I've endured for a long time, and I don't want to endure any longer. If you don't want to help me get revenge, then I'll go myself. A cunning glint flashed in Shunan's eyes, and then he roared in a low voice, letting go of Shunwei's arm, as if turning into a gust of wind and rushing out of the Shun family's main gate. Shaoan! Shinwei's face changed. Worried about his brother's safety, he hurriedly chased after him. With his speed, he caught up with Shun and not long after leaving the Shun family's main gate. I'll go with you. Just in time. I also want to see that person who dares to impersonate a disciple of our five elements sects would peek and bully men and women outside. Because of Shun's tearful narration just now, a fire had already built up in his heart, and he couldn't wait to go to the Yi family immediately to expose that person's true colors. Not only that, he also wanted to cripple that person's cultivation and bring him back to the five elements sect, back to their Wood Peak. In his opinion, since that person dared to impersonate a disciple of the Wood Peak and commit such outrageous acts, he must be executed by the Wood Peak's law enforcement elder personally. Only in this way could the Wood Peak be completely cleared of its name. Brother, the entire Yi family is now suppressed by that Duan Ling Tian with force, and they obey his every command. So, when we go there later, the Yi family members will definitely try to drive us away. They are forced to do so, so please don't blame them. Shunan said to Shinwei with a heavy expression, but in the depths of his eyes, there was a hint of triumph. What? Shenwei was slightly startled when he heard this. The Yi family members are suppressed by him with force? Didn't you say that Duanling Tian is just a young man? As far as I know, the old patriarch of the Yi family is a void-prying stage triple-layered expert. Could it be that even the old patriarch of the Yi family can't deal with him? Shin En's face changed imperceptibly, but quickly recovered. He sighed. Brother, you don't know? The old patriarch of the Yi family passed away 3 years ago. I see. Shinwei nodded, then couldn't help but sigh. I remember. When I came back 4 years ago, I even paid a visit to the old patriarch of the Yi family. At that time, I didn't see anything wrong with him. How could he pass away so quickly? It's truly a pity. I heard he encountered a powerful enemy outside, was severely injured and left with a hidden illness, and then couldn't hold on and passed away. Shinnen secretly wiped a cold sweat and continued. Brother, when you came back 4 years ago, your cultivation had already broken through to the void-prying stage. What is your cultivation level now? Shinnen seemed to remember something and couldn't help but ask. I just broke through to the void-prying stage 4th level last month. Shinwei said. Shinnen nodded, but thought to himself, brother is only at the void-prying stage 4th level now, so he's definitely not a match for that Duanling Tian. However, I never expected brother to do anything to that Duanling Tian. After all, that Duanling Tian is someone who can even defeat a Grand Elder. Shunan's idea was simple, let Duanling Tian injure his brother, thereby enraging his brother's master, Kuzhong. The elder of the 5 elements sects would peak. A powerful existence at the void transformation stage. In his opinion, with Elder Kuz doting on his brother, once his brother was severely injured by Duanling Tian, Elder Ku would definitely not let it go. Elder Ku, in a fit of rage, will definitely kill that Duanling Tian. This way, it will also relieve the hatred in my heart. Duanling Tian, you ruined my engagement with Yi Xian, and that's fine, but you even want to meddle in my affairs. I'll make sure you die without a burial place. At this moment, Shunan was very satisfied with his plan. In his opinion, his plan was perfect and flawless. A moment later, Shunwei and Shunen arrived at the main entrance of the Yi family mansion. The 2 Yi family disciples guarding the entrance, upon seeing Shunen, changed their expressions. Brother, let's go in. Shunen completely ignored the 2 Yi family disciples and directly barged in. Young Master Shinair. The 2 Yi family disciples stopped Shinnen, their expressions changing repeatedly. They were a bit puzzled. Hadn't the engagement between their Miss Yi and this young master of the Shin family already been broken off? What was this dissolute young master doing at their Yi family? Moreover, he came aggressively, clearly with ill intentions. Was he not afraid of young Master Duan punishing him? Just as the 2 Yi family disciples were lost in thought, Shun and made his move. Boom. Boom. He unleashed 2 palms, one for each, directly sending the 2 Yi family disciples flying. They crashed into the doorposts of the main gate and fainted. Shaoan. The sudden scene caught Shen Wei off guard. It wasn't until Shunan had succeeded that Shen Wei came to his senses and couldn't help but frown. What are you doing? Brother, don't worry, I just knocked them out. The Yi family members are all being coerced by that Duanling Tian right now. If I didn't knock them out, they definitely wouldn't dare to let us in. Shen-en explained. Shenwei nodded. Although he felt something was off, he didn't think much of it. Of course. This was also because he had never doubted his brother, nor had he ever thought that his brother would deceive him. Shenwei and Shunin, the 2 brothers, forced their way into the Yi family and arrived outside the Yi family's main hall. Some Yi family disciples who came forward to inquire were injured by Shunin one by one, which immediately aroused the anger of more powerful Yi family disciples. And a group of Yi family disciples all made their moves. At this point, Shinin couldn't hold on any longer. Boom. Shinwei took a step forward, his robes billowing without wind, and a powerful force surged from his body, directly sending a group of Yi family disciples flying. The group of Yi family disciples fell to the ground, all groaning, but not a single scream was heard. Perhaps, in their opinion, screaming in front of that dissolute young master of the Shin family was the greatest humiliation, and they could not accept such humiliation. Go find the patriarch quickly. I'll go find the grand elder. I'll go find the second elder. Immediately, apart from a portion of Yi family disciples who glared at Shun Wei and Shunin. Some Yi family disciples quickly left to notify the patriarch and elders. Before long, Yi Ting, the patriarch of the Yi family, and a group of Yi family elders gathered together and arrived in a grand procession. Patriarch, Grand Elder, Second Elder. The Yi family disciples who had surrounded Shen Wei and Shunin made way, respectfully ushering Yi Ting and the others Yi Ting, who had heard that Shunin had come to cause trouble, had an extremely gloomy expression. But when he walked into the crowd and saw Shun Wei beside Shunin, his expression softened a bit. I knew young Master Shin Heir wouldn't dare to trespass into our Yi family mansion. So, young Master Shunda has returned. Yi Ting's indifferent gaze swept over Shunin, then landed on Shun Wei, clearly mixed with a hint of apprehension, the eldest young master of the Shin family. Shin Wei, he did not fear, but the Five Elements sect behind Shin Wei. He had no choice but to fear. Moreover, he had heard that Shun Wei had not only joined the Five Elements sect, but had also become a disciple of an elder of the Five Elements sect, which made him even more apprehensive. One must know that even the weakest elder in the Five Elements sect was in existence above the void transformation stage. Such an existence, with just one person's strength, was enough to annihilate their Yi family. Patriarch Yi. Shin Wei nodded to Yi Ting. He and his brother came today not to hold the Yi family accountable, but to find the person who dared to impersonate a disciple of the Five Elements sects would peak and bully men and women. Therefore, Shin Wei was very polite when facing Yi Ting. Young Master Shinda, may I ask what brings you and your brother here? Yi Ting asked indifferently. Our Yi family and your Shin family seem to have no connection anymore, do they? Patriarch Yi, your esteemed daughter and my brother Shun and were engaged, and I was happy for my brother. But for you to come to our Shun family to break off the engagement, no matter the reason, it seems a bit excessive, doesn't it? Shin Wei said, breaking off the engagement? Hearing Shun Wei's words, Yi Ting suddenly understood. So young Master Shinda is here for this matter. However, didn't your esteemed father tell you that this matter has already been completely resolved? At this point, Yi Ting looked at Shunin, always feeling that something was amiss with today's events in Flowing Cloud Town. Shun Wei's reputation had always been good. He was by no means the kind of person who would bully others by relying on his power or act unreasonably. But today, he came with Shunin to demand an explanation, which was truly strange. Humph. Before Shin Wei could speak, Shunin had already said angrily, Yi Ting, you brought that Duan Ling Tian to our Shun family to break off the engagement, making our Shun family lose all face, and even forcibly separated me and Xiao Xian. Don't you feel even a little bit guilty? Towards the end, Shunin was agitated, his face covered in tears that streamed down. Yi Ting was dumbfounded. The group of Yi family elders was dumbfounded. All the Yi family disciples were dumbfounded. What kind of act was this young Master Shin Heir putting on? Seeing his brother so distraught, Shin Wei's calm expression instantly darkened as he said in a deep voice to Yi Ting, Patriarch Yi, considering that you were once my brother's prospective father-in-law, I won't make things difficult for you. However, you must hand over that Duan Ling Tian. Today, I, Shin Wei, will not only seek justice for my brother and my Shin family, but also for the wood peak of my Five Elements sect. Shin Wei's words rang out like a clap of thunder by the end. A chilling rage had surfaced on his face. He rarely got angry. But today, seeing his brother in such pain, and then thinking that someone dared to impersonate a disciple of the Five Elements sect would peak, he was completely enraged. Seek justice for the Five Elements sect? Hearing Shin Wei's words, Yi Ting's pupils constricted, while the other Yi family elders and disciples looked bewildered. How did Duan Ling Tian get involved with the Five Elements sect? And it seemed he had done something that incurred the wrath of both heaven and man against the Five Elements sect? Young Master Shun, could you be mistaken? How could Brother Duan be involved with your Five Elements sect? Yi Ting frowned, feeling that something was amiss, but for a moment, he couldn't quite describe the feeling. Humph. Patriarch Yi, it seems you truly have been scared witless by him. Just then, Shunin sharply rebuked in a deep voice, didn't he tell you that he is a disciple of the Wood Peak in the Five Elements sect? Today, my brother is here to teach him a lesson on behalf of the five-element sex Wood Peak. Disciple of the five-element sex Wood Peak? Yi Ting was stunned. He truly didn't know that Duan Ling Tian was a disciple of the five-element sect. He immediately looked at a Yi family disciple nearby and said, "You, go invite young Master Duan over." Yes. The Yi family disciple respectfully responded and left, seeing Yi Ting send someone to call Duan Ling Tian. Shenwei didn't say anything more for a while, closing his eyes to rest and wait quietly. Shunan, standing beside Shenwei, had a triumphant look on his face. "Duan Ling Tian, let's see how you'll suffer." A cold sneer played on Shun An's lips, his heart filled with malice. In a quiet courtyard of the Yi family, Duan Ling Tian sat calmly at a stone table, sipping tea. In his other hand, he constantly held a cyan shard. "Finally, I've comprehended the triple intermediate wind concept." Duan Ling Tian glanced at the wind concept shard in his hand, a satisfied smile appearing on his face. At the same time, he picked up his teacup and took a sip, a fragrant tea aroma blossoming in his mouth. "Brother Duan." At some point, the sound of a door opening echoed, and a graceful figure emerged from a room on the right side of the courtyard. It was Yi Xian, who had been in seclusion for several days. This moment, Yi Xian's face was filled with joy as she excitedly said, "Brother Yi, the pills you gave me are truly miraculous. In just a few days, they've allowed my cultivation to recover to the 7th level of the nascent soul stage." Yi Xian had, a few days prior, discarded all her yuan force and began cultivating the cultivation method Duan Ling Tian had taught her. During this time, she had taken several pills Duan Ling Tian gave her. Those pills were precisely designed to absorb and store the yuan force Yi Xian had dispersed. After Yi Xian resumed cultivating her new method, the pills would then return the absorbed and stored yuan force to her. In just a few days, Yi Xian had reclaimed all the yuan force from the pills, and was even just one step away from breaking through to the 8th level of the nascent soul stage. "Xianer, those pills, while miraculous, aren't enough for you to recover all your cultivation in such a short time. Haven't you noticed that the speed at which you absorb the yuan force from those pills has increased these past few days?" Duan Ling Tian shook his head, then asked with a smile. "It did increase. But isn't that because the yuan force in the pills was originally my own?" Yi Xian asked curiously. She didn't understand those pills, only knowing that they could absorb all the yuan force she had dispersed, and then she could reclaim that yuan force through cultivation. "You girl, now that you've absorbed all the yuan force from those pills, try absorbing the heaven and earth yuan qi accumulated in a yuan stone and see." Duan Ling Tian gave a wry smile. He had thought that when this girl came out of seclusion, she would be excited about her current talent. But who knew she seemed to have noticed nothing. Yi Xian nodded, sat at the stone table, took out a low-grade yuan stone, and began cultivating on the spot. After a dozen breaths, Yi Xian opened her eyes, her pretty face filled with astonishment. Brother Duan, how do I feel that the speed at which I absorb the heaven and earth yuan qi from the yuan stone is more than 10 times faster than before. Although it's not as fast as absorbing my own yuan force from those pills, it's not much slower either." Yi Xian asked, somewhat lost in thought. "Silly girl." Duan Ling Tian shook his head. "You haven't forgotten what I told you a few days ago, have you? Do you really think I was just talking when I said I would cleanse your marrow and temper your bones for you?" According to his observation, although Yi Xian's current talent was not as good as his own, who had once consumed the lotion of the 10,000-year stone stalactite and elevated his talent to the extreme, it wasn't far off. Marrow cleansing and bone tempering. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian finally recalled what Duan Ling Tian had told her a few days ago. At that time, Duan Ling Tian had said her talent was different from before, but she hadn't believed it. Now, with the facts laid bare, she couldn't help but believe. "Brother Duan, you really improved my talent." Yi Xian looked at Duan Ling Tian, her pretty face filled with excitement. Duan Ling Tian gave a wry smile. "You girl, at a time like this, you're still doubting your brother Duan? Do I really look that much like a swindler?" "Brother Duan, I didn't mean that." Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Yi Xian's pretty face immediately flushed red as she hastily explained, I just I was just too surprised. Although I know there are some rare treasures on Cloud Continent that can improve a martial artist's talent, I've never heard of anyone being able to help others improve their talent. Now you know how amazing your brother Duan is, right? Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. Brother Duan is the most amazing. Asterisk Yi Xian nodded like a pecking chick. Then her face flushed as she stared intently at Duan Ling Tian. What's wrong? Do I have flowers on my face? Being stared at by Yi Xian like that, Duan Ling Tian felt uncomfortable all over and couldn't help but ask. Asterisk Bo? Asterisk just as Duan Ling Tian raised his hand, preparing to touch his face, Yi Xian leaned forward and, as if in a sneak attack, kissed Duan Ling Tian on the cheek. While Duan Ling Tian stood there dumbfounded, Yi Xian had already run back to her room with a red face, closing the door with a bang. Her voice came from afar. Brother Duan, thank you. I will cultivate diligently. After saying that, there was no further sound. She had clearly become eager to cultivate after realizing the extraordinary talent she now possessed. This girl, Duan Ling Tian, who had been ambushed by Yi Xian, shook his head and smiled. If I have the chance in the future, I'll take Xian'er to meet Mom and Dad. If Mom and Dad adopt her as their goddaughter, then she'll truly be my sister. Duan Ling Tian's heart stirred slightly, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Young Master Duan. Just then, a respectful and urgent voice came from outside the courtyard. Duan Ling Tian frowned. He heard the urgency in the person's tone outside, so he didn't dare to delay and walked directly out of the small courtyard. Only then did he discover a Yi family disciple standing there with an anxious expression. What's wrong? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. He didn't know why this Yi family disciple was in such a hurry, as if he was rushing to be reincarnated. Young Master Duan, please come quickly. Young Master Shen and second Young Master Shun have arrived. It seems they are here because of the matter of the patriarch and you breaking off the engagement with the Shen family. The Yi family disciple hastily said. Young Master Shen? Shen Wei. Duan Ling Tian remembered the Young Master Shun that Yi Xian had mentioned, the Shen Wei, who had joined the Five-Element sect, and couldn't help but ask. Yes. The Yi family disciple nodded. Where are they? Lead the way. Duan Ling Tian said, his expression remaining calm throughout, as if he wasn't at all worried about what Shen Wei could do to him. The Yi family disciple led the way, with Duan Ling Tian following behind. Didn't they say that Young Master Shun was a reasonable person? Duan Ling Tian frowned. He still remembered Yi Xian's evaluation of Young Master Shun, Shen Wei. According to Yi Xian, Shen Wei was an upright person, completely different from his brother Shun, and however, if Shen Wei truly was such a reasonable person, logically, he shouldn't have come to the Yi family with Shun and to cause trouble for him. Regardless, let's go take a look first. I was just wondering how to get in touch with someone from the Five-Element sect, and unexpectedly, Shen Wei has delivered himself to my doorstep. Duan Ling Tian followed the Yi family disciple, moving through the Yi family mansion, and soon arrived outside the Yi family's main hall. At this point, Duan Ling Tian noticed a crowd of people gathered ahead. Young Master Duan is here. The Yi family disciple leading Duan Ling Tian shouted loudly. Immediately, the Yi family disciples forming a circle respectfully made way for him. Young Master Duan. Young Master Duan. One by one, the Yi family disciples respectfully greeted Duan Ling Tian, who was slowly approaching. During this time, the deeds of this purple-clad young man had spread throughout Flowing Cloud Town. By himself, he had successively defeated the Shun family patriarch and the Shun family grand elder, helping the Yi family annul the ridiculous engagement with the Shen family. Because of this incident, as Yi family disciples, when they went out these past few days, they saw awe in the eyes of others everywhere, which fully satisfied their vanity. They knew that all of this was brought to them by the purple-clad young man before them. If it weren't for him, no one would respect them like that. Facing the enthusiastic group of Yi family disciples, Duan Ling Tian smiled and nodded in response to each. Immediately, the Yi family disciples' faces broke into bright smiles, exclaiming, Young Master Duan is not only powerful, but also so humble and modest. Truly rare. Seeing Duan Ling Tian so respected by the Yi family disciples, Shun An's face completely darkened. He looked at Yi Ting not far away and sneered. Patriarchy. I think you can pretty much hand over your position as patriarch to this Duan Ling Tian. From now on, the Yi family should just change its name to Duan family. And all Yi family members should change their surname to Duan. Shun En's words made Yi Ting's expression extremely ugly. Asterisk to make the Yi family change their surname was undoubtedly a blatant insult to them. For a moment, not only Yi Ting, but all the Yi family elders and disciples glared angrily at Shunen. But due to their fear of Shen Wei, they dared not make any move. Shaoan, don't go too far. Don't forget, our purpose in coming to the Yi family today is not to seek an explanation from them. Finally, Shen Wei, who had been standing silently to the side, eyes closed in contemplation, opened his eyes. His sharp gaze immediately fell upon the purple-clad young man. Are you Duan Ling Tian? Shen Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked in a deep voice. That's right. Duan Ling Tian nodded faintly, simultaneously beginning to size up the young man before him. Shen Wei was around 35 years old, with an air of righteousness between his brows. One could tell at a glance that he was a relatively upright person, a complete opposite to his younger brother. Do you know what the consequences are for impersonating a five-element sect disciple and bullying others outside? Shen Wei stared at Duan Ling Tian with an electrifying gaze and asked in a deep voice, impersonating a five-element sect disciple? Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but be startled when he heard Shen Wei's words. Below the patriarchy Ting. The group of Yi family members also couldn't help but be stunned when they heard Shen Wei's words. Duan Ling Tian. Impersonating a five-element sect disciple? In their opinion, with the achievements Duan Ling Tian had at such a young age, there was no need for him to impersonate any five-element sect disciple if Duan Ling Tian wanted to. He could easily join the five-element sect. At only around 25 years old, he had defeated a void-prying stage 6th level martial artist with unfathomable methods. Did such an outstanding young man need to impersonate a five-element sect disciple? Young Master Shun, is there some misunderstanding here? Yi Ting asked. Duan Ling Tian recovered, raised an eyebrow, and inadvertently looked at Shun and beside Shen Wei. Noticing a hint of panic in Shun An's expression, for a moment, he vaguely guessed what was going on. Duan Ling Tian. Just then, before Duan Ling Tian could speak, Shunen had already roared, glaring angrily at Duan Ling Tian. You scoundrel! Not only did you impersonate a disciple of the Wood Peak of the Five Elements sect to bully others, but you also forcibly took my fiancé and forced the Yi family to break off their engagement with my Shin family. I won't let you off. I'll fight you to the death. By the end of his furious shout, Shunen lunged at Duan Ling Tian, appearing as if he wanted to fight Duan Ling Tian to the death. Seeing Shunen lunge at Duan Ling Tian, the group of Yi family members were stunned. They hadn't expected this profligate son of the Shun family to dare attack Duan Ling Tian. Logically speaking, he should have known Duan Ling Tian's strength. Duan Ling Tian smiled, a bright and radiant smile that he naturally guessed Shun An's intentions and didn't expose him. Instead, he sneered and shouted, a mere clown. As soon as his voice fell, Duan Ling Tian raised his hand and slapped it towards Shun and in this palm strike. Duan Ling Tian did not use too much power. Don't hurt my brother. Just as Duan Ling Tian's palm was about to land on Shen Wei roared, stepped forward, and also struck out with a palm, meeting Duan Ling Tian's. Whoosh. Shen Wei struck, and vast elemental energy in his palm transformed into rolling flames, sweeping across the air, creating bursts of ear-piercing sonic booms as it met Duan Ling Tian's palm, above the void. A heaven and earth phenomenon abruptly appeared, first showing 60 ancient horned dragon phantoms, followed by another 40 ancient horned dragon phantoms that a total of 100 ancient horned dragon phantoms surged out, their momentum like a rainbow. Void-prying stage 4th level, 3rd level mid-grade fire concept. This was the strength of young Master Shen Wei, a disciple of the Wood Peak of the Five Elements sect. Interesting. Asterisk, a cold smile appeared at the corner of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. The elemental energy in his hands suddenly exploded, then transformed into bursts of fierce gales, forming a constantly rotating vortex in his palm. Bang! Finally, Duan Ling Tian and Shun Wei clashed palms, emitting a loud bang. Immediately after, raging flames surged from Shun Wei's palm, pouring towards Duan Ling Tian as if to burn him to ashes. The constantly roaring and rotating gales, on the other hand, swirled out in reverse from Duan Ling Tian's hand, colliding with the raging flames and completely suppressing them. Crack! A crisp sound of bones breaking, accompanied by a heavy muffled groan, reached the ears of everyone present. Immediately after, everyone saw Duan Ling Tian's palm overpower Shun Wei, breaking one of Shun Wei's arms. Then, his palm, sweeping out like a wind dragon, landed on Shun Wei's body. Bang! Asterisk with another loud bang. Shun Wei flew out like an arrow shot from a bowstring. After flying over 10 meters, he crashed into the wall of the Yi family's main hall, then fell to the ground, unconscious. And almost at the same time, whoosh, whoosh. Centered around the empty space behind and in front of Duan Ling Tian, two compressed air waves exploded, gushing out in all directions, causing the robes of the Yi family members to flutter wildly. Some Yi family disciples with lower cultivation levels were even pushed back several steps by the impact of the airwaves. Above the void above Duan Ling Tian's head, 110 ancient horned dragon phantoms gradually dissipated, allowing the void to return to its calm state. This is the first time I've made a move since my breakthrough. Duan Ling Tian clenched his fists slightly, a smile appearing on his face. Void prying stage 5th level. 3rd level wind concept. This was Duan Ling Tian's current strength during his time in the Yi family. He had not only achieved a breakthrough in his cultivation, but his wind concept had also broken through again, instantly adding the power of 20 ancient horned dragons. But why didn't my spiritual energy increase this time? Regarding this, ever since he broke through to the void prying stage 5th level 2 days ago, Duan Ling Tian had been perplexed, unsure of what exactly had happened. Normally, his spiritual energy was enhanced through the spirit fruits and soul beads that could raise spiritual energy levels, placing it 2 levels higher than his cultivation. All along, his spiritual energy level had maintained a progress of being 2 levels higher than his cultivation. However, after this breakthrough to the void prying stage 5th level, Duan Ling Tian was horrified to discover that his spiritual energy still remained at the void prying stage 6th level and had not advanced to the void prying stage 7th level. Logically speaking, this should not have happened. There's only one possibility. It's the after effect left by the last anomaly of the demon's sealing tablet. Now, Duan Ling Tian could only explain it this way. Back then, when he was surrounded by the 6 elders of Tsanglong Fort and his hand touched the demon's sealing tablet, the power that surged out from within the demon's sealing tablet not only entered his arm, but also entered his soul. Then, he lost consciousness in a daze. A scene similar to a dream appeared, and he had now confirmed that it was not a dream but a real existence. The power of the demon's sealing tablet temporarily controlled his body, slaughtering all life around him. That time, even Feng Wudao was almost killed by him while he was controlled by the demon's sealing tablet. Fortunately, he was barely able to maintain a trace of consciousness, which allowed Feng Wudao to escape the disaster. If it's really as I thought. The after effects of the demon sealing tablet last time are too great, aren't they? Duan Ling Tian's heart was filled with helplessness and bitterness all along. By relying on his spiritual energy, which was 2 levels higher than his cultivation, to unleash the soul skill, 1,000 illusions, it could be said to be the strongest method he possessed. In fact, with the soul skill, 1,000 illusions, he had repeatedly defeated many opponents whom he would have found difficult to defeat with his own strength alone. Now, after his cultivation had risen to the void prying stage 5th level, his spiritual energy had not followed suit, but remained at the previous void prying stage 6th level. This made him feel somewhat vexed and disappointed. Sighing, Duan Ling Tian recovered his senses. Regardless of how things truly were, since it had happened, it was destined to be difficult to change. I hope that when I break through to the void prying stage 6th level, my spiritual energy will rise again. Otherwise, it will be almost impossible to fight. Across levels again. Duan Ling Tian sighed to himself. What he was most worried about now was that his spiritual energy level would once again become equal to his cultivation level. If that truly happened, his soul skill, Thousand Illusions, would become completely useless. Stop. After recovering his senses, Duan Ling Tian saw Shun and carrying the unconscious Shin Wei, attempting to sneak away, and couldn't help but roar immediately. Shinin, who had just taken to the air, trembled and stared at Duan Ling Tian with a fierce look. Duan Ling Tian, you dared to seriously injure my brother, you're dead. Senior Ku will definitely not let you off. Senior Ku? Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow, then flew out, arriving not far in front of Shunin, and asked faintly, who is this Senior Ku you speak of? Someone from the Five Elements sect. That's right. Shunin stared at Duan Ling Tian with a sinister look. Senior Ku is not only from the Five Elements sect, but he is also my brother's master and an elder of the Wood Peak of the Five Elements sect. Elder of the Five Elements sect? As soon as Shunin said this, Duan Ling Tian showed no reaction. The Yi family patriarch, Yi Ting, however, changed his expression drastically and hurriedly transmitted his elemental energy voice into Duan Ling Tian's ear. Brother Duan, you should quickly leave the Yi family and go into hiding. An elder of the Five Elements sect is at least a void transformation stage existence, far beyond what you can contend with now. Elder of the Five Elements sect? Duan Ling Tian seemed to have completely ignored Yi Ting's words, raised an eyebrow, looked at Shunin, and asked faintly, where is that Five Elements sect elder now? Naturally, he's at our Shin family. Shunin snorted coldly, then sneered. You're not thinking of going to our Shun family to apologize to Senior Ku, are you? If so, I'll tell you now. It's useless. My brother is Senior Ku's most beloved disciple, treated like his own son. You crippled one of my brother's arms and seriously injured him. Senior Ku will definitely not let you off. As he spoke, Shun An's smile grew wider. Who else from the Five Elements sect is with your brother? Duan Ling Tian's expression remained calm as he asked faintly. Even if Senior Ku is the only one, he's enough to kill you 10 or 8 times. Duan Ling Tian, just wash your neck and wait. Of course, you can also run. Ha ha. As he spoke, Shinin laughed wildly, his laughter filled with glee. Asterisk. No wonder everyone in Flowing Cloud Town says you're worse than a beast. They're absolutely right. Duan Ling Tian looked at the laughing Shinin, a cold glint in his eyes. Duan Ling Tian, if I were you, I'd be running for my life right now, instead of wasting time here. But even if you escape Flowing Cloud Town, you might not escape Elder Ku's grasp. Shunin reined in his wild laughter, then looked at Duan Ling Tian, as if he were already dead. Do you think a dignified elder of the Five Elements sect would be so brainless? Duan Ling Tian suddenly laughed, a laugh that made Shun An's heart pound with unease, causing him to coldly demand, what do you mean by that? What do I mean? Duan Ling Tian gave Shun An a deep look. Don't you know better than anyone what I mean? Perhaps I injured your brother. But why did I injure your brother? Do you think that elder of the Five Elements sect won't find out that you were the one who harmed your brother? You're talking nonsense. His secret exposed by Duan Ling Tian. Shun An's face changed drastically, and he roared in anger, as if trying to cover up his guilt with his loud voice. I'm talking nonsense? Duan Ling Tian's smile grew even brighter. Then he added, all right then, I'll go to the Shin family with you. Let's see if that elder of the Five Elements sect hates you, the instigator, more, or me, the one who injured your brother. You still dare to come to our Shin family. Shun An's pupils constricted, and he exclaimed in horror, are you not afraid of death? Death? Even if I die, you should die before me, shouldn't you? I'm very curious what kind of expression that elder of the Five Elements sect will have when he finds out that his most beloved disciple was harmed by his own brother. Duan Ling Tian's smile remained unchanged. Ew. You're crazy. You're crazy. Shun An's face was incredibly grim. He was genuinely worried that Duan Ling Tian would follow him back to the Shun family. He had originally thought his plan was foolproof. Once he brought his heavily injured brother back to the Shin family, and Duan Ling Tian had escaped, his brother's master, Elder Ku Zheng of the Five Elements sect, would undoubtedly pursue and kill Duan Ling Tian at all costs. Why then? Duan Ling Tian might not even have time to speak before being killed by Kejong. But now, things weren't progressing according to his plan, or perhaps the person standing before him was too calm, so calm that it terrified him. Patriarch Yi, go call Xiao Xian. We'll go to the Shun family together. Didn't young Master Shunin say I forcibly took his fiancée? We'll confront him in front of that elder of the Five Elements sect. I refuse to believe that everyone in the Shun family will cooperate with him. Towards the end, a hint of mockery appeared on Duan Ling Tian's lips. Yi Ting, as the patriarch of the Yi family, was naturally not a fool. From Duan Ling Tian's words just now, he vaguely guessed some things. All right, I'll go get Xiao Xian now. As Yi Ting spoke, his entire body transformed into a flash of lightning. Heading towards the small courtyard where Yi Xian resided, above the void, Shun En's face was extremely unsightly. He looked at Duan Ling Tian and said in a deep voice, Duan Ling Tian, what exactly do you want to do? What do you want? What do I want to do? What do I want? Duan Ling Tian looked at Shun En as if he were an idiot and laughed coldly. Young Master Shinin, shouldn't I be the one asking you that question? I'd like to ask you, what do you want to do? What do you want? Out of respect for your father, I won't hold your past actions against you. But what have you done now? Deceiving your own elder brother, using your own elder brother to deal with me. Do you really take me, Duan Ling Tian, for an idiot like you, who would fall into your trap? Towards the end, Duan Ling Tian slowly uttered two words, idiot, idiot. Duan Ling Tian's voice, like the ringing of a giant bell, made Shun En's face change, turning incredibly pale. Every word in Duan Ling Tian's speech seemed to transform into a giant hammer, fiercely striking his chest, making his breathing become increasingly rapid. Duan Ling Tian. Finally, Shunin took a deep breath and slowly said, regarding today's matter, as long as you make sure the Yi family members don't speak carelessly, I won't hold it against you. As for my brother, I'll say he was gravely injured by an unknown powerful expert. Shun En's words clearly indicated he was backing down, and at the same time, admitting the failure of his plan. Oh. Hearing Shun En's words, Duan Ling Tian was greatly surprised and asked curiously, but your brother was clearly injured by me. He also knows he was injured by me, so wouldn't that elder of the Five Elements sect find out sooner or later? My brother dotes on me the most. As long as I admit my mistake to him, he will definitely cooperate with me and absolutely won't betray you. Shunin said in a deep voice. Shun En's words made Duan Ling Tian's gaze involuntarily fall upon the heavily injured and unconscious Shun Wei. A hint of pity in his eyes to eye in his opinion. For Shun Wei to have such a brother was truly his tragedy. His brother completely regarded his affection as a tool to be exploited, which was pathetic. I truly feel it's not worth it for your brother. Duan Ling Tian shook his head, speaking from the heart. You don't need to worry about that. Anyway, from now on, you go your way, I'll cross my bridge, and we'll have nothing to do with each other. After Shun En finished speaking, he wanted to leave with the unconscious Shun Wei. Whoosh. Duan Ling Tian moved, once again blocking Shun En. Shun En's face darkened, and he angrily said, Duan Ling Tian, do you really think blowing this matter up will benefit you? I'm telling you, even if my brother's master knows the whole story, with my brother protecting me, he won't be able to kill me. On the contrary, you are much more dangerous than I am. Is that so? Then I'll go with you. Duan Ling Tian smiled, a fearless smile. Madman, you're a goddamn madman. Shunin roared, his face grim. He had said that just now, but in truth, he was equally unsure in his heart. Who knew if his brother's master would kill him in a fit of rage before his brother even woke up? What exactly do you want? For you to let this matter go? Shunin took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. Duan Ling Tian ignored him, instead looking at the two figures approaching in the distance. Patriarch Yi Ting of the Yi family was flying over with Yi Xian, and in a blink of an eye, they were above the Yi family's main hall. Brother Duan. Yi Xian didn't look at Shunin, but instead looked at Duan Ling Tian, asking with a worried expression, I heard my father say that you injured Shun Wei and are going to the Shin family? Yes. Duan Ling Tian smiled and nodded. You come with me too. There might be some matters that require your presence. After speaking, Duan Ling Tian looked at Shunin, restrained him with a raised hand, and then, taking him and the unconscious Shun Wei, flew towards the Shun family's direction. Behind them, Yi Ting followed, bringing Yi Xian, who had not yet entered the void prying stage and could not fly on her own. The remaining group of Yi family elders and disciples all sighed. Young Master Duan still has a way. That profligate son of the Shin family was completely played by young Master Duan from beginning to end. One by one, the Yi family disciples looked with admiration at Duan Ling Tian's departing figure, only snapping back to reality when his figure disappeared from sight. Brother Duan. Yi Xian's brows were tinged with worry, fearing something might happen to Duan Ling Tian. Xiao Xian, don't worry. Since Brother Duan made such a decision, I believe he has thought it through and will be fine. Although Yi Ting was also feeling anxious. Out of his trust in Duan Ling Tian, he couldn't help but speak up to comfort Yi Xian. One must know. The last time he and Duan Ling Tian went to the Shun family to break off the engagement. Seeing that Duan Ling Tian's strength was inferior to that of the Shun family's grand elder, his mood was even worse than it was now. But later, Duan Ling Tian, with his unfathomable methods, played the Shun family's grand elder like a fiddle, instantly elevating his mood from hell to heaven. Hearing Yi Ting's comfort, Yi Xian nodded. Duan Ling Tian, let go of me. Let go of me. Restrained by Duan Ling Tian and being taken towards the Shun family mansion, Shunin roared incessantly along the way, his face incredibly ferocious. Duan Ling Tian, however, couldn't be bothered with him. Duan Ling Tian, if you just let me go, not only will I make sure you're completely uninvolved in this matter, but I also promise that I will never do evil again. Really, believe me, believe me. After realizing that being tough wouldn't work, Shunin chose to be soft. Unfortunately, Duan Ling Tian was immune to both tough and soft approaches. A moment later, Duan Ling Tian arrived above the Shun family mansion once more. The reason he wanted to blow things up this time was twofold. First, to teach Shun a lesson, and second, to join the Five Element sect through that elder of the Five Element sect. Then head to the secret treasure left by the Martial Emperor powerhouse and reunite with Tian Wu and the others. Because of this, when he severely injured Shen Wei, he hadn't been truly ruthless. Shen Wei's injuries looked serious, but as long as he took healing pills and recuperated a little, he would fully recover in at most half a month. Shin family's main hall, Elder Kuzheng of the Five Element sects would peak. After finishing a meal in the company of the Shun family's high-ranking members, sat at the head of the main hall. Below him sat Shindong, the patriarch of the Shin family, and a group of Shun family elders. Really, it's not easy for him to come back, yet he even missed the welcoming banquet we prepared for Elder Ku. Shindong looked at Kuzheng, his face full of apology. Elder Ku, I'm truly sorry. It must be my youngest son who dragged Wei out. When he comes back, I'll make sure to teach him a good lesson. No worries. Kuzheng shook his head and chuckled. Shinwei hasn't been back for 4 years, so let him wander around Flowing Cloud Town. After all, we're leaving tomorrow. So soon. Shindong was greatly surprised. Elder Ku, I still wanted to properly entertain you. How about you stay a few more days? Patriarch Shin, I brought Shinwei out this time for a real reason. Due to certain circumstances, our Five Element sect urgently needs to recruit a group of void-prying stage martial artists under 40 years old. So far, our Wood Peak has only recruited 2, which is far from our target. Towards the end, Kuzheng couldn't help but sigh. Our time is very tight. Void-prying stage martial artists under 40 years old. Kuzheng's words made Shindong's eyes light up. Elder Ku, now that you mention it, I do recall someone. Perhaps I can help recommend him to join the Five Element sect. Oh, hearing Shindong's words, Kuzheng's eyes lit up, and he asked in surprise, could it be that the Shun family has a young talent who meets this condition? Elder Ku, you jest. Besides Wei, how could our Shin family have such an outstanding young talent? Shindong shook his head with a bitter smile. He's a young brother I met a few days ago. He's young, but his strength is remarkable. I'm not afraid of you laughing, Elder Ku, but no one in our Shin family is a match for that young brother. What? Kuzheng was greatly astonished. Patriarch Shun, I heard from Shun Wei that your Shun family's Grand Elder broke through to the void prying stage, 5th level 4 years ago. Could it be that even he is not a match for the young brother you speak of? Elder Ku, you might not know, but our Shun family's Grand Elder recently broke through to the void prying stage. 6th level. Shin Dong sighed, his gaze becoming somewhat complex a while ago. That purple-clad young man had given him too great a shock. Void prying stage, 6th level? Ku Jing's pupils contracted, and he said with emotion, Patriarch Shun, could it be that the young brother you mentioned even defeated your Shun family's Grand Elder? A void prying stage, 6th level existence. Yes. Shindong nodded. Where is he now? Ku Jing's eyes brightened, and he asked eagerly. He suddenly felt that this young talent might be a turning point for their 5-element sects would peak. The would peak was currently in decline and urgently needed excellent new blood to join. He's been staying at the Yi family in Flowing Cloud Town these past few days. Elder Ku, if you're interested, Before Shindong could finish, he was interrupted by an abrupt voice. Patriarch Shen, Duan Ling Tian has come uninvited. Please forgive me. A calm yet resonant voice came from outside the Shen family's main hall, growing closer. It's him. Shindong's eyes lit up. He quickly looked towards the entrance of the hall. He hadn't expected Duan Ling Tian to arrive just as he was mentioning him. However, his expression soon changed. He saw Duan Ling Tian. But he also saw two other people, a young man with a face full of terror, and another young man who was seriously injured and unconscious. He was all too familiar with these two. They were his two sons, Shun Wei. An old and aged voice suddenly rang out. The old man who had been in the main seat was gone, reappearing beside the unconscious young man, who was the Shun family's eldest young master, Shin Wei. After confirming that Shun Wei's injuries were not serious, the old man breathed a sigh of relief. He fed Shin Wei a healing pill, reset his arm bone, and then stood up to face the purple-clad young man who was so close. The purple-clad young man was, of course, Duan Ling Tian, Patriarch Shun. Yi Ting and his daughter have come to disturb you. Another voice came, belonging to the Yi family's patriarch, Yi Ting, who had arrived with his daughter. Yi Xian, did you injure Shun Wei? The old man, who was Ku Zheng, an elder of the 5-element sects would peak, stared at Duan Ling Tian with cloudy eyes, his voice slightly deep. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded, then carefully observed the old man before him. When he first arrived at the Shin family's main hall, he had seen this old man sitting in the main seat and easily guessed his identity, an elder of the 5-element sect, Shin Wei's master. Why? The old man was clearly a very calm person. Even after seeing his most beloved disciple seriously injured, he wasn't blinded by anger. Instead, he wanted to understand the full story first, seeing how reasonable the old man was. Duan Ling Tian's eyes showed a hint of approval and respect. Actually, before coming, he had thought more than once that if Shun Wei's master, that 5-element sect elder, was an unreasonable and overly protective person who would attack him without asking for reasons upon meeting, then he would use a talisman to kill him immediately. He had come to the Shin family with full confidence that no matter what happened, he could leave calmly. Now it seemed he could not only save a talisman, but also had a chance to achieve his primary goal for coming.
Joining the 5-element sect and reuniting with his scattered friends through the sect. You must be young Master Shin's master.
Elder Ku of the 5-element sect, right? Duan Ling Tian narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. Correct. Ku Zheng nodded, then glanced at Shin Wei, who was lying on the ground, and said in a deep voice, I wonder how my useless disciple offended your excellency to provoke such a heavy hand. Heavy hand. Duan Ling Tian laughed. Elder Ku, let's be frank. Do you really think I used a heavy hand on your disciple? Ku Zheng choked at his words. He had to admit that although he said the purple-clad young man before him had used a heavy hand, he didn't actually think so in his heart that he had thoroughly examined his disciple's injuries just now and found them all to be external. They would heal completely after taking a healing pill, resetting the bones, and resting for a period, leaving no sequelae. Regardless, your excellency has injured my disciple. I believe my disciple is of pure character and would never actively seek trouble. Shouldn't your excellency give me an explanation? Kuzheng asked in a deep voice that in fact, he was now filled with shock, astonished by the age of the purple-clad young man before him. This young man, who looked no older than 25, was actually able to defeat his direct disciple, Shen Wei, a void-prying stage, 4th-level martial artist. When he examined Shen Wei's injuries, he found that Shen Wei was seriously injured during a direct confrontation with someone, and the person who injured him had intentionally held back. Otherwise, Shen Wei's injuries would not have been so simple that he found it hard to imagine that such a young man could possess such terrifying strength. Unconsciously, a desire to nurture talent rose deep within him. If I can bring him back to the five-element sect, why would Peak not prosper? However, before bringing him back, I must test his character. Otherwise, even if I bring him back, he will be poached by the other 3 peaks. Kuzheng's heart stirred. Over the years, their Peak had not been without talented disciples, but for various reasons, they had been poached by the other 3 peaks. If the purple-clad young man before him was also that kind of weathercock, even if his talent was outstanding, he would not bring him back to the five-element sect, because that would be like making wedding clothes for the other 3 peaks. Explanation? Hearing Kuzheng's words, Duan Ling Tian shook his head, then pointed at Shunin. Elder Ku, if you truly want an explanation, I think he should be the most suitable person to give you one. Kuzheng frowned. Looking at Shunin, is what he said true? No. Shunin frantically shook his head, pointing at Duan Ling Tian in panic. Elder Ku, it's him. He injured my brother. Quickly kill him, quickly kill him. You unfilial son. Finally, Shindong walked over, glaring at Shunin and asking angrily, tell me honestly, what other outrageous things have you done? In his heart, he vaguely guessed some things. He understood his eldest son. He believed that his eldest son would never actively provoke Duan Ling Tian, and there was no enmity between them. As for Duan Ling Tian, although their time together was brief, he could tell that Duan Ling Tian was an upright person. Therefore, in his opinion, this matter was most likely stirred up by his younger son again. Being questioned by Shindong, Shunin trembled all over, his face pale. He pointed at Duan Ling Tian and roared, Father, it's him. He injured big brother. Quickly kill him. Quickly kill him. Shunin was now roaring hysterically, seemingly trying to cover up the terror in his heart. It seems you're unwilling to tell the truth? Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at Shunin, then looked at Yi Ting. Patriarch Yi, please tell Elder Ku and Patriarch Shin how arrogant young Master Shinair was at the Yi family mansion just now. What? You unfilial son. You actually took your brother to trespass into the Yi family mansion? Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Shindong's face changed drastically. He raised his hand and gave Shun a resounding slap, making Shun momentarily stunned. Yi Ting took a deep breath and, without any concealment, recounted how Shun had brought Shun Wei to trespass into the Yi family mansion and injured many Yi family disciples. Also, I think young Master Shin might have been deceived by young Master Shinair. Yi Ting had just said this when he was interrupted by Shunin. Yi Ting, don't slander me. Father, Elder Ku, I didn't deceive my brother. I didn't deceive my brother. It's them who injured my brother. Quickly kill them, quickly kill them. Shunin looked at Shindong and Kuzheng, shouting hysterically, Beast, shut up. Shindong's face darkened, and he roared again, startling Shunin, whose face became even paler, his body trembling violently from fear. Ugh. Suddenly, a sound came. It was Shun Wei, who had been unconscious, opening his eyes and mumbling dazedly. Where is this place? Since young Master Shun has woken up, Patriarchy, you don't need to waste any more words. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile, then glanced at Shun and, what do you say, young Master Shinair? Shin En's face slightly darkened. He took a deep breath and hurriedly looked at Shun Wei. You're not trying to use your origin energy to transmit a message and make your brother lie for you, are you? Upon noticing Shun En's actions, Duan Ling Tian took a step forward, grabbed Shun En with one hand, and spun him around like a top a few times, completely distracting him and preventing him from using origin energy to transmit a message. Wei-er. Shun Wei, Shindong, and Kuzheng didn't stop Duan Ling Tian. They stepped forward, one on each side, to help Shinwei up, their faces filled with worry. "Father, Master." Shinwei regained consciousness and asked in confusion, "Why am I here?" "It's you. What are you trying to do to Shaoan?" Seeing Duan Ling Tian toying with Shunin, Shunwei's face changed drastically. He angrily shouted and was about to attack Duan Ling Tian to save Shunin. Unfortunately, not yet fully recovered, he nearly collapsed after taking one step forward, thankfully supported by Shun Dong and Ke Zhang. "Shinwei, what exactly happened? Tell me the whole story, from beginning to end, without missing a single word," Ke Zhang asked in a deep voice, facing the frank and open purple-clad young man. He couldn't immediately confirm whether it was his disciple's fault or the purple-clad young man's. No. Shinan heard Ke Zhang's question to Shinwei. With his back to Shinwei, unable to use his Yuan Li to transmit sound to him, he immediately became anxious and opened his mouth to stop Shinwei. Slap. Duan Ling Tian, who was prepared, raised his hand and slapped Shinan, making him dizzy. "Shut up. If you say one more word, I'll beat you into a pig's head." "You." Seeing Duan Ling Tian treat his brother like this, Shinwei's face changed drastically, his eyes turning crimson. But he was unable to exert any strength and could only watch helplessly. "Father, Master, stop him quickly." Shinwei called for help from Shindong and Ke Zhang. But he soon realized that neither his father nor his master had any intention of saving Shinan for a moment. He vaguely sensed the strangeness of the atmosphere. "Father, what happened?" Shinwei looked at Shindong with a confused expression. "Wei answer your master's question," Shindong said with a solemn expression. Only then did Shinwei realize that his master was looking at him seriously. He immediately dared not neglect him and recounted everything. Shinan had told him when he first entered the house that Duan Ling Tian not only impersonated a disciple of our five elements sects, would peak to bully men and women outside, but he also forcibly took my brother's fiancée, pressured the Yi family, made the Yi family break off their engagement with our Shin family, and caused our Shin family to lose all face. Shinwei looked at Duan Ling Tian, gritting his teeth, and said, "So, I was the one who wanted to teach him a lesson. It has nothing to do with Shaoan. And Master, don't you think he deserves to be taught a lesson? Impersonating a disciple of our would peak." After hearing Shinwei's words, Ke Zhang's face sank, and he looked at Duan Ling Tian coldly. "What's your explanation?" "Explanation?" Duan Ling Tian smiled, glanced at Ke Zhang indifferently, and said, "Elder Ku, to be honest, before I helped the Yi family break off the engagement with the Shin family, I didn't even know the existence of the Five Elements sect, let alone what would peak was. As for why I asked the Shun family to break off the engagement, Patriarch Shin knows it very well. If Patriarch Shin can't explain it clearly, I've also brought the person involved." At this point, Duan Ling Tian looked at Yi Xian behind Yi Ting, Xiao Xian. "Come." Yi Xian obediently stood beside Duan Ling Tian, looking at Ke Zhang timidly. To her, an elder of the Five Elements sect was an unattainable existence to look up to. Facing him directly, her heart was filled with apprehension. There's no need for Miss Yi to say it herself. Shindong took a deep breath, then explained to Ke Zhang the farcical engagement between the Yi family and the Shin family, and also recounted all the misdeeds of his youngest son over the past few years. "So, it was my unfilial son who was unworthy of Miss Yi." Brother Ling Tian's request to break off the engagement with our Shun family was understandable and straightforward, purely to repay Miss Yi's life-saving grace, seeking nothing else. At this point, Shindong looked angrily at Shinan, who had his back to them, and said in a deep voice, "But I never expected that this unfilial son would so brazenly twist the truth in front of Wei. The one who bullied men and women was clearly him, but in his mouth, it became Brother Ling Tian. As for impersonating a disciple of the Five Elements sects would peak, that must also be his slander against Brother Ling Tian, in order to provoke Wei and make Wei stand up for him." By the end of his speech, Shindong was furious, his robes rustling without wind. "What?" Shinwei's face turned pale when he heard his father's words. He looked at Shun En's back in disbelief, muttering, "It's Shaoan. When did Shaoan become like this? How could Shaoan become like this? No. Impossible. Impossible." Shin Wei couldn't accept the fact that his younger brother was a profligate and often bullied men and women. Finally, he couldn't catch his breath, and with blood rushing to his head, he fainted again. Third elder, please take the young master to rest. Shin Dong sighed, then looked at Shin Lei, who was standing silently by the side, and called out, "Yes." Shin Lei respectfully responded, and then helped the unconscious Shun Wei away. "It seems I misunderstood you." Kuzheng looked at Duan Ling Tian, forcing a smile, appearing amiable. "Your name is Duan Ling Tian?" "Yes." Duan Ling Tian nodded. "Good, good." Kuzheng sized up Duan Ling Tian, a satisfied smile appearing on his face. "Elder Ku, he is the young brother I mentioned to you earlier." As if noticing Kuzheng's interest in Duan Ling Tian, Shin Dong, who was standing by, smiled and said, "That day, to repay Miss Ye's life-saving grace, he single-handedly broke into our Shun family mansion, first defeating me, and then defeating our Shun family's grand elder, thereby breaking off the absurd engagement between the Yi family and our Shin family. To go to such lengths to repay a life-saving grace is rare." Ku Zheng's gaze towards Duan Ling Tian became even more satisfied. From this incident, he could see that Duan Ling Tian's character was completely without any issues. His previous worries were entirely superfluous. Most importantly, Duan Ling Tian's martial arts talent was truly terrifying. This young man, seemingly only around 25 years old, could defeat the Shun family's grand elder. An existence at the 6th level of the void prying stage. Even their 5 Elements sect didn't have such an outstanding disciple. Perhaps he is an opportunity for our wood peak. Looking at Duan Ling Tian, Ku Zheng's eyes became a little excited, as if he saw the rise of their wood peak, as if he saw the dropped jaws of the people from the other 3 peaks. Patriarch Shun, if you praise me anymore, I'll start blushing. Duan Ling Tian shook his head with a smile, then raised his hand and threw Shun into the ground, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. Patriarch Shin, how do you plan to resolve this matter? As soon as Duan Ling Tian spoke, Ku Zheng also looked at Shin Dong, his gaze becoming somewhat sharp. Clearly, this elder of the 5 Elements sect also disapproved of Shun En's despicable actions, especially since Shun En had pitted his own brother, who was also his disciple, against him this time, making him even angrier. But as the saying goes, even an honest official finds it hard to settle a family dispute. He knew in his heart that he was, after all, an outsider in the Shin family, and it was inconvenient for him to interfere in these matters. Brother Duan, rest assured, I will give you and Elder Ku a satisfactory explanation. Shin Dong took a deep breath, seemingly having made a decision. Father, I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please spare me this one time. Spare me this one time. Seeing Shun Dong's stern gaze sweep over him, Shinin seemed to realize what was about to happen. He couldn't help but shiver, his voice trembling as he continuously begged for mercy. Unfortunately, in the face of Shun En's pleas, the sternness in Shun Dong's eyes showed no signs of weakening. Perhaps he had already given up on his youngest son immediately after. To Duan Ling Tian's astonishment, Shin Dong went up to Shun En and, with a raised hand, knocked the despairing, limp Shin En unconscious. Crack, crack. For consecutive sounds of bones breaking came, sending shivers down one's spine. It was Shun Dong, who, with a raised hand, crushed all the bones in his youngest son Shun En's 4 limbs. Looking at the brutality of his actions, even with a grade 1 rejuvenation pill, Shun En's crippled limbs would likely never recover. From now on, this unfilial son will stay in the Shin family for the rest of his life. The Shin family will ensure he lives out his days peacefully in bed, and he will no longer be allowed to go out and cause trouble. Shun Dong's cold voice conveyed his determination. They say, even a tiger does not devour its cubs. But Shin Dong was now in a difficult position and had no choice but to make this decision. Otherwise, there was no telling what kind of trouble his youngest son would cause in the future. The elders of the Shun family sighed, but no one felt sorry for Shun En. In their eyes, this might be Shun En's best outcome. Brother Duan, let's go back. As soon as the sound of bones breaking began, Yi Xian's pretty face turned pale with fright. She couldn't help but close her eyes, not daring to look. Okay. Duan Ling Tian smiled and nodded. then took Yi Xian's hand and greeted Shindong and Kuzhong. Patriarch Shun, Elder Ku, since the matter here is resolved, I'll take my leave first. With that, Duan Ling Tian took Yi Xian and ascended into the air, flying out of the Shun family's main hall with Yi Ting. Brother Duan. Shindong became anxious when he saw Duan Ling Tian about to leave. He had just boasted in front of Kuzhong that he would introduce Duan Ling Tian to him. Patriarch Shin, is there something you need? Duan Ling Tian paused in the air, asking with a puzzled expression. It's not that I need something, but Elder Ku. I wonder if Brother Duan is interested in. Shindong looked at Duan Ling Tian, about to ask if he was interested in joining the Five Elements sect, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by Duan Ling Tian. Patriarch Shun, are you trying to ask me if I'm interested in joining the Five Elements sect? Exactly. Shindong nodded, surprised that Duan Ling Tian had guessed his thoughts. I can. Duan Ling Tian didn't hesitate, nodding, then looked at Kuzhong, who was excited by his words, and smiled slightly. Of course, on the condition that Elder Ke thinks highly of me. I do. Kuzhong quickly nodded, his face beaming with joy, completely devoid of the dignified demeanor an expert of the void transformation stage should have. Brother Duan, you're going to the Five Elements sect. Yi Xian's pretty face changed slightly. She bit her lip, her autumn eyes welling up with tears, filled with reluctance. Xiao Xian, if you're willing, come with me to the Five Elements sect. I don't think Elder Ke would refuse, would he? Duan Ling Tian looked deeply at Kuzhong and asked. Of course not. Kuzhong quickly said, after acknowledging Duan Ling Tian's character. He was full of interest in this young man with monstrous talent, wishing he could immediately take him back to the Five Elements sect, back to Wood Peak. Although Duan Ling Tian's current request was a bit excessive, that was only for ordinary people. For a monstrous martial artist like Duan Ling Tian, he naturally deserved different treatment. I can go to the Five Elements sect. Yi Xian, who was stunned by Duan Ling Tian's words, was filled with disbelief as her pretty face became blank after hearing Kuzhong's reply. Elder Ku, can my daughter really join the Five Elements sect? Yi Ting was also greatly surprised when he heard Kuzhong's words. He swallowed hard and asked in disbelief. Asterisk, of course. Kuzhong nodded, a confident smile on his face. I still have that much authority. Thank you, Elder Ku. Thank you, Elder Ku. Upon receiving confirmation, Yi Ting's face lit up with excitement. Although he was the patriarch of the Yi family in Luyan Town, he always maintained a respectful attitude when facing a colossal force like the Five Elements sect. The Yi family had a legacy of several hundred years, yet not a single talented disciple had ever joined such a powerful force as the Five Elements sect. This had always been the Yi family's regret. Now, knowing that his daughter could join the Five Elements sect, even if it was due to a personal connection, he couldn't help but feel an inexplicable surge of excitement. In that case, Elder Ku, please allow us a few days to prepare. How about we depart after a few days? Duan Ling Tian looked at Kuzhong, intending to ask for his opinion. No problem. Kuzhong was completely immersed in the joy of Duan Ling Tian agreeing to join the Five Elements sect. For a monstrous genius like Duan Ling Tian, he would naturally grant any request. Elder Ku, didn't you say you were leaving early tomorrow morning? Shindong, who had just instructed the family elders to take his youngest son, Shunin, away, happened to overhear Kuzhong's words and couldn't help but be startled. Earlier, when Kuzhong said he was leaving tomorrow, Shindong had tried to persuade him to stay, but Kuzhong had seemed resolved, which left Shindong feeling quite helpless. Now? Cough. Kuzhong heard Shindong's words and gave an awkward smile. Special circumstances. Patriarch Shun, since that's the case, may I trouble you for a few more days? It's our Shun family's honor. Shindong quickly said. He could naturally tell that Elder Ku had temporarily decided to stay a few more days for Duan Ling Tian, which clearly showed how highly he regarded Duan Ling Tian. Thank you, Elder Ku. Duan Ling Tian thanked Kuzhong, then greeted Shindong, before taking Yi Xian and the still excited Yi Xian out of the Shun family hall. Duan Ling Tian, take your time to prepare. As long as you're ready within half a month and leave with me, it's fine. Seeing Duan Ling Tian leave the Shun family hall, Kuzhong, standing inside the hall, loudly added another sentence. This left all the high-ranking Shun family members, including Shin Dong, speechless. Indeed, different people received different treatment. Duan Ling Tian and the two women quickly returned to the Yi family mansion. Naturally, Yi Ting couldn't help but thank Duan Ling Tian profusely for what had just happened. Brother Duan, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, Shinner would probably never have been able to step foot into the Five-Element sect. Yi Ting said, Patriarchy. You're exaggerating. Duan Ling Tian shook his head, then glanced at Yi Xian beside him and said, Shinner's talent is quite good. When I asked Elder Ku to accept her into the Five-Element sect, I actually didn't want a pearl to be obscured by dust. Yi Xian, standing by the side, had a slightly flushed face. Her beautiful eyes filled with uncontrollable excitement. Even now, she still felt like she was dreaming, joining the Five-Element sect. It had undoubtedly been an unattainable dream for her since childhood. Now, that dream had truly come true. Brother Duan, I know my daughter's talent. With her talent, the Five-Element sect would certainly not look favorably upon her. This is all you're doing. Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Yi Ting shook his head. Duan Ling Tian gave a wry smile. Did this patriarch still think his daughter's talent was the same as before? One must know that he had carefully considered his decision to let Yi Xian join the Five-Element sect. His entry into the Five-Element sect was more about meeting his old friends and reuniting with them through the sect, rather than truly wanting to join the Five-Element sect to achieve something great. Therefore, in this situation, Duan Ling Tian felt a sense of guilt. Guilt towards the Five-Element sect. Why having Yi Xian join the Five-Element sect with him? He was more trying to compensate the Five-Element sect. Perhaps, today, in the eyes of others, Yi Xian was able to join the Five-Element sect because of him. Duan Ling Tian. But he knew very well in his heart that in the future, Yi Xian would let everyone know that it wasn't she, Yi Xian, who was climbing up the social ladder to the Five-Element sect, but rather the Five-Element sect that was climbing up to her. Yi Xian. Of course, Duan Ling Tian didn't say any of this for now, because he knew that few would believe it if he did. It was better to let the facts speak for themselves. The current Yi Xian needed time. As long as she had time, her astonishing talent would gradually emerge and shine brightly. Five-Element sect. This can be considered my explanation to you. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself in the following days. Duan Ling Tian continued as usual, either cultivating and comprehending intent, or sitting in the small courtyard, leisurely drinking tea. He had asked Kazheng for a few days to prepare, naturally not for himself. He was alone, with no relatives or friends here, and could leave at any time. The few days he asked for were for Yi Xian, as far as he knew. Yi Xian had never traveled far in her life, so he naturally needed to give her time to prepare properly in the next few days. The news of Yi Xian joining the Five-Element sect spread throughout the Yi family, causing the entire Yi family to be adorned with lanterns and streamers, filled with joy. As if it were the new year, whenever a Yi family disciple went out during these days, a phrase like, "Our Miss Yi is going to join the Five-Element sect," would inevitably come up in their conversations, and outsiders would offer all sorts of flattery. Everyone clearly understood what Yi Xian joining the Five-Element sect meant. From now on, the Yi family would be completely different from before, having the Five-Element sect as a backing. Just like the Shin family, perhaps the Five-Element sect wouldn't go all out for them, but human interactions inevitably involved favors. Once the Yi family faced difficulties, if Miss Yi Xian returned to help, she would certainly be accompanied by some elders and disciples of the Five-Element sect who came to assist. Luoyuan Town is about to change. The Yi family, when one person achieves success, their relatives and friends also benefit. The streets and alleys of Luoyuan Town became bustling and lively because of the news that the Yi family's eldest daughter was going to join the Five-Element sect. 5 days later, asterisk. At the entrance of the Yi family mansion, Duan Ling Tian stood quietly, unmoving like a mountain, resembling a statue. His gaze was fixed on a group of people not far away. A pretty young girl was bidding farewell to a group of high-ranking Yi family members, led by the Yi family patriarch, Yi Ting. All Yi family disciples residing in the mansion had come out to see her off. Half an hour later, the girl turned and came to Duan Ling Tian's side. Brother Duan, I'll trouble you to look after Shinner from now on. Yi Ting looked at Duan Ling Tian, his face solemn as he entrusted her to him. His daughter was his precious darling, and it was her first time going on a long journey. So his heart was filled with endless reluctance. Patriarch Yi, rest assured I will. Duan Ling Tian nodded solemnly, then took Yi Xian's hand, chuckled softly, and said, Shinner, let's go. Yi Xian was led by Duan Ling Tian as they ascended into the air, heading towards the Shen family. But she couldn't help but look back repeatedly, waving goodbye to the Yi family members. It wasn't until the figures of the Yi family members disappeared from her sight that she turned back, a little lost, and murmured, Brother Duan, when do you think I can come back to see my father? Silly girl. Duan Ling Tian smiled affectionately. You can come back any time you wish. I'll mention this to Elder Ko. Duan Ling Tian believed that Kejung would certainly not refuse such a small request. Brother Duan, please don't tell Elder Ku about this yet. Otherwise, he might think I'm relying on your influence to achieve things. Yi Xian stuck out her tongue playfully. I still hope to earn Elder Ku's and the other 5 element sect disciples' respect on my own. Duan Ling Tian smiled and nodded. That's ambitious. As you wish. Soon, Duan Ling Tian and Yi Xian arrived at the Shun family mansion, and naturally, they received a warm reception from the Shun family patriarch, Shen Dong, in the Shun family hall. Duan Ling Tian saw Kuzheng again. Today, Kuzheng looked radiant, as if he had grown a few years younger. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but his eyes lit up, and he asked with a hint of surprise, Has Elder Ke made a breakthrough these past few days? Duan Ling Tian, you truly have a sharp eye. Kuzheng nodded with a smile. My cultivation has been exceptionally smooth these past few days, and the bottleneck that I couldn't break through for many years has finally been shattered in one fell swoop. Years ago, Kuzheng's cultivation had reached a bottleneck on the path to void prying stage 7th level, but he had been unable to break through, as if he had fallen into a mental block these past few days. Because he met Duan Ling Tian, and Duan Ling Tian agreed to return to the 5-element sect with him to join Wood Peak, he was in a great mood. Who would have thought that by sheer coincidence, his cultivation would break through in one go? Speaking of which, I have you to thank for this, Kuzheng said with a smile. Thank me? Duan Ling Tian was startled. It's precisely because you agreed to master. To return to the 5-element sect with us, that master was in such a good mood. And only then was he able to break through. A person walked in from outside the door, and a calm voice drifted in. Duan Ling Tian looked over and realized that the person who entered was none other than the Shun family's eldest young master. Shun Wei that a few days had passed, and Shun Wei had recovered as if nothing had happened. Young Master Shun. Duan Ling Tian nodded to Shun Wei. After understanding the ins and outs of the previous incident, he bore no grudge against Shun Wei in the entire matter. Shun Wei was merely kept in the dark, exploited by his younger brother. Shun in everything he did was blameless. Duan Ling Tian, I offended you greatly a few days ago. I hope you can forgive me. After Shun Wei entered, he bowed to Duan Ling Tian, his words filled with sincerity. Young Master Shun, you're too polite. I've already forgotten about that matter. Duan Ling Tian smiled openly, his good impression of Shun Wei growing. He truly lived up to his reputation as someone whom the people of Luyun Town would praise whenever he was mentioned. From now on, we'll be fellow disciples, so don't call me young master anymore. Just call me Shun Wei. Shun Wei said with a smile, then looked at Yi Xian beside Duan Ling Tian. This must be Miss Yi, right? Miss Yi, I apologize for disturbing your family a few days ago. As for my brother, I never expected that he would have done so many outrageous things over the years. As he spoke, a hint of sorrow flashed in Shun Wei's eyes. Let's not talk about the past. Kuzheng shook his head, then said, Since everyone is here, it's time for us to leave. Elder Ku, why don't you all have lunch before you go? Shin Dong tried to persuade them to stay. No need. Patriarch Shin, thank you for your hospitality these past few days. Kuzheng nodded to Shin Dong, then greeted Duan Ling Tian and the other two before walking out. Patriarch Shin, farewell. Duan Ling Tian, bringing Yi Xian with him, bid farewell to Shun Dong and followed after them. Shinwei also quickly followed. The group of four rose into the air above the Shun family estate and headed west. Along the way, Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but ask curiously, Elder Ko, are we returning to the Five Elements sect or going somewhere else? I'll first send you to Anding City. Arwood Peak has an outpost there. The two people we recruited recently are also there. Kuzheng said. Understood. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Elder Ko, could you tell me about the Five Elements sect? Duan Ling Tian asked again. K. Yizheng nodded and then explained. Our Five Elements sect is divided into 5 peaks: gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Except for the gold peak, which is the main peak where the sect master's lineage resides. The other 4 peaks are of equal status and are presided over by 4 peak masters. The 4 peaks have always been in a state of competition, but for the past 20 years, Arwood Peak has been at a disadvantage. At this point, Kuzheng sighed heavily. Soon, from Kuzheng and Shunwei's accounts, Duan Ling Tian gained a certain understanding of the Wood Peak within the Five Elements sect, learning that it was once the most glorious peak, second only to the Gold Peak. However, more than 20 years ago, after the Wood Peak master was severely injured outside and returned to secluded cultivation, the Wood Peak began to decline. First, the outstanding disciples of the Wood Peak were poached by the other 3 peaks through coercion and enticement. Then, the 3 peaks intentionally ganged up to suppress the Wood Peak, causing it to temporarily fall to the bottom. Although the older generation of experts in the Wood Peak still remained, the younger generation, compared to the other 3 peaks, lacked sustained power for a force, even a small faction within the same sect. Once the younger generation lacks sustained power, it means decline. Kuzheng sighed. Can't you just recruit some more talented disciples? As long as you spend more time, you can still find gifted disciples. Duan Ling Tian said. Of course, we know that, and we've indeed done so. But those talented disciples, before they even settled down in Arwood Peak, were all poached by the other 3 peaks through coercion and enticement. Kuzheng said with a bitter smile. Doesn't the Gold Peak, the sect master's lineage, intervene in this matter? Duan Ling Tian asked with a frown. You don't know about this. In our Five Elements sect, there has always been a tradition. The 5 peaks coexist and compete with each other. Apart from the rule that disciples of different peaks must not kill or cripple each other at will, and elders must not attack juniors, there aren't too many other restrictions. All along, the Gold Peak has been the undisputed first peak of our Five Elements sect, with an unshakable position. The other 4 peaks, however, have always been openly and covertly competing. 20 years ago, Arwood Peak became the target of a joint suppression by the other 3 peaks, and this suppression has left us unable to breathe for over 20 years. At this point, Kuzheng sighed. Duan Ling Tian suddenly understood and could somewhat comprehend the Wood Peak's predicament, as expected of a power from outside the domain. Even a third-rate power has such fierce competition. Perhaps it is precisely because of this that the Five Elements sect has been able to develop to this day. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself, if it were a sect that was too comfortable and peaceful, it might be powerful for a time, but in a few decades or 100 years, it would inevitably decline, not for any other reason, but because the younger generation of disciples in the sect would lack passion and motivation. No wonder Elder Ke looked at me like a hunter looking at prey. It turns out he intends to use me to help the Wood Peak rise again. Duan Ling Tian smiled bitterly. Although this thought might seem a bit arrogant, Kuzheng clearly harbored such intentions among the various peaks of the Five Elements sect. The open and covert struggles mainly occur among the younger generation. The older generation of powerhouses rarely take action and find it inconvenient to do so. The younger generation, though their current strength may be far inferior to the older generation, are the future pillars of the sect and the foundation for a sect's sustained prosperity. When I arrive at the Wood Peak of the Five Elements sect, my days probably won't be peaceful. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself that, of course, he was not afraid. Rather, he was somewhat looking forward to it. Soon, a morning passed, and the 4 of them, Duan Ling Tian included, left Flowing Cloud Town and arrived above a continuous mountain range with complex terrain. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian, who was traveling alongside Kuzheng and Shun Wei, couldn't help but frown, as if he had sensed something. "Be careful," Kuzheng shouted in a low voice, warning them. Immediately, Shun Wei became highly vigilant, and a 7-foot-long spear appeared out of thin air in his hand, its tip shimmering with light, using the exact same weapon as his father. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A series of swift figures appeared around Duan Ling Tian and the other three in a flash, surrounding them completely. This was a group of middle-aged men dressed in plain clothes, with cold expressions, looking at Duan Ling Tian and the others as if they were looking at four strangers. Bandits? Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow, immediately guessing the identity of these people. Before leaving the outer domain, he had learned from the memories of the reincarnation Martial Emperor that bandits often appeared in some remote areas of the outer domain. The purpose of these bandits was only one: to kill passing martial artists with powerful martial arts and seize their wealth. Simply put, these were a group of desperate outlaws who engaged in unprofitable business, living by the sword and risking their lives to earn huge wealth. Duan Ling Tian had stayed in Flowing Cloud Town and had not left alone precisely because he was worried about encountering these bandits. Bandits weaker than him would be fine. He would just kill them. If they were much stronger than him, then he could only become a lamb to the slaughter, with no chance of survival. Big Brother Duan. Seeing herself surrounded by so many people, Yi Xian's face turned pale. As a pampered young lady of the Yi family, she had never seen such a sight before. Xiao Xian, come on to Big Brother Duan's back. Immediately, Duan Ling Tian noticed that Yi Xian was trembling slightly from fear, so he called out to her, and Yi Xian got onto his back. Why Yi Xian leaned on Duan Ling Tian's back, wrapping her arms around his neck, and her emotions gradually stabilized. Taking a deep breath, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual power extended outwards, and he immediately investigated all the bandits, surrounding them one by one. There were 9 in total. 1 at the 7th level of the Void Prying Stage. 3 at the 6th level of the Void Prying Stage. The rest were at the 4th and 5th levels of the Void Prying Stage. What a strong bandit group! Duan Ling Tian secretly gasped, not expecting the first wave of bandits he encountered in the outer domain to possess such terrifying strength. However, Duan Ling Tian didn't know this. This was not the first wave of bandits he had encountered after arriving in the outer domain. Earlier, after he was demonized by the demon's sealing tablet, moved away from Feng Wudao, and completely lost consciousness, he had encountered several waves of bandits, no weaker than this bandit group, on his way to Flowing Cloud Town. Some of them were even at the Void Transformation stage. However, without exception, those bandits were all killed by him after his demonization as soon as they appeared. Kill. The leading bandit, at the 7th level of the Void Prying Stage, gave the order directly without a word of nonsense. Immediately, the other 8 bandits pounced on Duan Ling Tian and the other 3. Above the void, vast ancient horned dragon phantoms appeared, sweeping towards them, blocking most of the sunlight from the sky. Those 3 are at the 4th level of the Void Prying Stage. Kuzheng spoke. He had no intention of making a move, but instead pointed at 3 of the charging bandits and said to Xin Wei. Immediately after, he looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked, excluding the leader, the strongest of the other 5 are only at the 6th level of the Void Prying Stage. How many can you handle? Clearly, the old man wanted to test Duan Ling Tian's strength. Up to this point, the old man had not seen Duan Ling Tian make a move, only knowing that Duan Ling Tian had once defeated the Shun family patriarch and the Shun family grand elder. The Shun family grand elder was a martial artist at the 6th level of the Void Prying Stage, senior. Except for the leader. The rest, leave them to me. Duan Ling Tian smiled confidently. As soon as his voice fell, his eyes began to flicker with a faint light, and deep within his mind, vast spiritual power pierced into his soul imprint. 1,000 illusions. A phantom space was conjured out of thin air by Duan Ling Tian, covering an area of several tens of meters. The 9 bandits appeared clearly within Duan Ling Tian's spiritual power range, except for the leading bandit at the 7th level of the Void Prying Stage. He could affect all the other bandits with his soul skill, making them fall into the phantom space. When Duan Ling Tian performed the soul skill, Thousand Illusions, Ke Zheng and Shen Wei were both startled by Duan Ling Tian's words. Ke Yizhen couldn't help but frown, thinking that Duan Ling Tian was overly arrogant. Alas, did I misjudge him after all? Ke Zheng sighed inwardly, his internal elemental energy beginning to surge, ready to attack the group of bandits charging at them at any moment. Clearly, he did not believe Duan Ling Tian's boast. However, he was soon stunned. Shen Wei was also stunned. Yi Xian, who was tightly clutching Duan Ling Tian's neck and clinging to his back, had initially closed her eyes in fear of the bandits. But when she curiously opened her eyes and looked out, she witnessed a scene she would never forget. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 8 charging bandits suddenly froze in midair, their eyes showing confusion, as if they had suddenly lost their target. Immediately after, they erupted, attacking their former companions. And the surging power that had long been on the verge of bursting forth was completely unleashed. Boom, 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 boom. Terrifying power tore through the sky, creating bursts of piercing air explosions. It was the 3 bandits at the 6th level of the void prying stage who, working together, killed their other 5 companions. What are you doing? The bandit leader, who was not affected by Duan Ling Tian's soul skill, stared blankly for a moment at this scene. Then his face changed dramatically, and he roared furiously. However, with his roar, the 3 bandits at the 6th level of the void prying stage all looked at him, their faces filled with murderous intent. What? Are you planning to attack me? The leader of the 7-level void-shattering realm bandits, his face grim, glared at his 3 subordinates. These 3 subordinates usually wouldn't dare to utter a peep in front of him, let alone harbor murderous intent towards him. Kill. The 3 6th-level void-shattering realm bandits roared, directly attacking the bandit leader. From the start, they went all out, aiming for his vital points without mercy. Are you out of your minds? The bandit leader roared back, but he didn't launch an attack. He merely dodged the 3 bandits' assaults, while angrily demanding an answer. However, the 3 bandits seemed not to hear him at all and continued to charge at him. Finally, the bandit leader realized something was amiss, but the continuous attacks from the 3 bandits made it difficult for him to focus on anything else. He could only retaliate in anger, unleashing a barrage of attacks that enveloped the 3 bandits. The power of a 7th-level void-shattering realm expert was on full display. The strength of a 7th-level void-shattering realm expert was a chasm apart from a 6th-level one. A complete leap forward, unless a 6th-level void-shattering realm martial artist possessed special techniques. They would be utterly helpless against a 7th-level void-shattering realm martial artist. In 10 breaths. The bandit leader, in a fit of rage, killed all 3 of his subordinates. After killing his 3 subordinates, he collected himself and looked at Ke Zheng, saying in a deep voice, "What did you do to them?" Ke Zheng had just regained his composure when he heard the bandit leader's words, feeling a bit speechless. What did he do? From beginning to end, he seemed to have just stood by and watched the show, right? Soon, the bandit leader took a deep breath, his emotions calming down. Recalling the scene just now, he felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. Humph. I'll spare your lives today. With a cold snort, the bandit leader maintained his imposing demeanor, refusing to be outdone. His body moved, transforming into a bolt of lightning. Ready to leave the area, he sensed a dangerous aura from the 4 individuals. Since you're here, don't leave. An aged, ancient voice seemed to emanate from all directions. Immediately after, a figure appeared out of thin air in the path of the bandit leader. It was Ke Zheng. The bandit leader looked at the ghostly figure that appeared before him, a figure he couldn't even perceive. His face instantly changed, and he exclaimed in alarm, You are a void transformation realm expert." Ke Zheng didn't answer the bandit leader. He looked at him with a calm expression, his eyes devoid of any emotion. "Senior, spare me. Senior, spare me." Under the astonished gazes of Duan Ling Tian, Yi Xian, and Shen Wei, the bandit leader, a dignified 7th-level void-shattering realm martial artist, actually knelt before Ke Zheng, repeatedly begging for mercy. A qualified martial artist should be unyielding and fearless of death. A coward like you is not fit to be a martial artist. Kuzheng's face turned cold. With a raise of his hand, vast flames swept out, engulfing the bandit leader and instantly reducing him to ashes. From beginning to end, the latter didn't even have time to let out a scream. So strong. Yi Xian, leaning against Duan Ling Tian's back, said in a daze, 7th level void transformation realm. Although the old man held back when he made his move, Duan Ling Tian still noticed some clues from his elemental energy, which had fused with the high-grade fire concept. One must know that he had fused with the reincarnation Martial Emperor's lifelong memories. Although he couldn't currently use his spiritual power to probe the old man's cultivation, he could still discern some things with his naked eye. With Elder Ku's strength, his position in the wood peak of the five-element sect is probably not low. Duan Ling Tian secretly speculated. Just then, Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered, and a figure appeared before him. It was Ku Zheng, who had returned after killing the bandit leader, staring intently at him. Elder Ku. Being stared at by Ku Zheng like that, Duan Ling Tian felt uncomfortable all over, a little embarrassed. The way you dealt with those 8 bandits just now, was it a method similar to an illusion? Finally, Ku Zheng spoke, asking with a hint of surprise. Not similar. What I just performed was indeed an illusion technique. Duan Ling Tian said truthfully. I didn't sense any fluctuations of inscription patterns or inscription arrays. So, you used your spiritual power to cast a soul skill-like technique to create an illusion? Ku Zheng's breathing became a little rapid. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. This was undeniable. You're not a demon, are you? Ku Zheng scrutinized Duan Ling Tian up and down, asking with a look of doubt. Duan Ling Tian was immediately speechless at his words. No, I need to verify it. Ku Zheng suddenly said. How do you verify it? Duan Ling Tian was taken aback. You'll know soon. Ku Zheng gave Duan Ling Tian a mischievous look, then took out an ancient bronze mirror with faint streams of light swirling on its surface. Demon-slaying mirror? Seeing the object in Ku Zheng's hand, Duan Ling Tian was completely speechless. Senior, is this really necessary? The demon-slaying mirror wasn't a rare item on Cloud Continent. Any artificer of rank 3 or above could refine one, provided they had the materials. The demon-slaying mirror was not a spirit weapon. It had only one function: to verify whether a person was a demon in human form. As long as a person was a demon in human form, once they appeared in the mirror, it wouldn't show a human reflection but rather their true form. Let me take a good look and see if you, little monster, are a demon in human form. Ku Zheng held up the demon-slaying mirror, aimed it at Duan Ling Tian, and peered into the mirror's surface. When he saw that the mirror still showed Duan Ling Tian, the human, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Now, he could be 100% certain that Duan Ling Tian was a pure human, not a demon in human form. If you're not a demon, how could you use a spiritual power technique similar to a soul skill? Although he confirmed that Duan Ling Tian was not a demon, Ku Zheng still couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. As far as he knew, human martial artists, unless they achieved the Martial Emperor realm, could not use spiritual power techniques to fight. Yet, Duan Ling Tian defied this common sense. Senior, you haven't heard of hybrids, have you? Duan Ling Tian narrowed his eyes, deliberately trying to mislead him. Hybrids? Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Ku Zheng was completely petrified. An elder of the five-element sect. How could he not know about the existence of hybrids? Hybrids were beings born from the union of humans and demons. They were either mediocre or exceptionally talented, with the latter possessing unique, innate divine abilities. However, hybrids were rare throughout the entire Cloud Continent, existing only in some top-tier first-rate forces. The five-element sect, in the eastern region of the northern desert, was considered a hegemon, but in the entire Cloud Continent, it was only a third-rate force, not worth mentioning. Therefore, he initially didn't even consider Duan Ling Tian as a hybrid because he didn't dare to think that way. You. Ku Zheng looked at Duan Ling Tian, somewhat incoherent. His heart was filled with an indescribable excitement that a hybrid. He had actually encountered a legendary hybrid. Moreover, this hybrid was about to join the five-element sect and become a disciple of there would peak. Ha ha. Under the stunned gazes of Duan Ling Tian, Yi Xian, and Shun Wei, Kuzheng suddenly burst into laughter, his laughter echoing far and wide. From Kuzheng's laughter, Duan Ling Tian could sense his joy, and naturally, he guessed why Kuzheng was so happy. Finally, Kuzheng reined in his laughter. Now, Kuzheng had no doubts about the technique Duan Ling Tian had just performed. Innate divine ability. Brother Duan, what is a hybrid? Why was Elder Ke so excited when he heard about hybrids? Yi Xian, leaning against Duan Ling Tian's back, asked curiously. A hybrid is an unusual existence. You can understand it as an existence that cannot be described by common sense. Duan Ling Tian explained with a smile. Yi Xian nodded, seemingly understanding yet not quite. Let's go. After the burst of laughter just now, Kuzheng seemed to have dispelled his past worries. Appearing radiant and full of energy, Duan Ling Tian. Thank you. At some point, Shenwei had come to Duan Ling Tian's side, thanking him from the bottom of his heart. Thank me for what? Duan Ling Tian was taken aback. Thank you for making Master so happy. Shenwei sighed. From the day I became Master's disciple, because of Wood Peak's situation at the time, he placed great hopes on me. Even now, though he hasn't said it, I know he's disappointed. Shenwei, there's something I don't understand. Duan Ling Tian frowned. Shenwei looked at Duan Ling Tian in confusion and asked, what is it? I always feel that Elder Ke seems to have an extremely unusual affection for Wood Peak. His concern for Wood Peak is completely unlike the concern an ordinary Wood Peak elder should have. Duan Ling Tian whispered. Another person might even think Elder Ke is the peak master of Wood Peak, not just an elder. You noticed? Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Shun Wei was a little surprised, then added, actually, it's not a secret. Master, many years ago, was adopted by the previous generation's peak master of Wood Peak. He grew up in Wood Peak from a young age and completely regards Wood Peak as his home. For him, the decline of Wood Peak is equivalent to the decline of his family. Shinwei said with a bitter smile, so that's how it is. Duan Ling Tian suddenly understood. He hadn't expected such a connection between Elder Ke and Wood Peak. With this, everything made perfect sense. In the evening, Duan Ling Tian saw a city nestled on the grassland, like a colossal entity in a picturesque, verdant illusion. That's in Ding City. Shinwei said. Duan Ling Tian nodded, then looked directly at the city ahead. Although Ding City was far from being as grand as the ancient desert city, it was no smaller than the capitals of the Great Han Dynasty or the Great Ming Dynasty. Duan Ling Tian and the other two followed Kuzheng into the city and soon entered a sprawling mansion. Elder Ke. Wherever Kuzheng passed, the busy people throughout the mansion respectfully bowed to him.